Welcome to the Coming Home Well podcast, the show that educates, supports, and advocates for the veteran community. Your host, Dr. Tyler Piron, U.S. Army retired, will bring you exciting conversations with amazing guests about resources, research, and military history, all geared to helping our warriors to come home well. Here's your host, Dr. Tyler Piron.
Welcome back to Coming Home Well. I'm your host, Dr. Tyler Piron, and today we're going to talk to a motorcycle club. The Second Brigade Motorcycle Club has kindly offered Joshua Robb. He also goes by Jericho. I think that's a road name. He's a national officer with the Second Brigade Motorcycle Club, and they do some pretty awesome things with veterans, for veterans, all about veterans. So we thought we'd have him on and learn a little bit about the Second Brigade Motorcycle Club. Welcome, Joshua.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to speak on behalf of my club and what this culture is all about.
So let's talk about that. Second Brigade Motorcycle Club sounds like a Second Brigade, First Armored Division or something, but we know it's not. It's a motorcycle club. How did you guys get started?
Okay, so originally we started in January of 1997. We're actually originally an affiliate club for the original Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club, which once upon a time actually was one of the largest motorcycle clubs in the world. So they started in the early to mid 80s, and they had an agreement made with a lot of the other major clubs that they wanted to carry on their mission to make sure that no soldier ever came back the way they did. But they wanted to make sure that mission was carried on even after they were gone. So they were given permission to have affiliate clubs, and we're one of them. We're actually one of the few that have survived all these years. And we take that mission very seriously, and we carry it on in a multitude of ways in multiple countries, as well as many states here in this one.
So what is the difference between a main club and an affiliate club?
So an affiliate club basically is someone who kind of carries on a mission. So the main thing is when you first start with an affiliate club, you're carrying on the mission, you're kind of like support them. But what we did is we did our own work, and we did our own negotiations with a lot of the other motorcycle clubs that were out there. And what we did is we actually segregated off from them, becoming our own club. So now we've been that since about 2004.
So as people get older, I know the Vietnam veterans are getting older and older, almost like our World War II veterans. There's probably fewer and fewer that are out riding motorcycles. So how do these things continue?
Well, it continues in a multitude of ways. The main thing is today, veterans are very different than they were back from, the Vietnam era. Same thing with World War II and Korea. So the main thing it takes, the veterans that come out, or the ones that want to support veterans, to find new ways to kind of, open up new territory. So unfortunately today we've got a lot that suffer from PTSD. We've got ones that have substance abuse. We've also got ones that have homelessness, have issues with family, multitude of different ways. So the biggest thing that a lot of these clubs try to do now is they each have a mission that they try to champion in a certain way. Now, some are better than others. I'm not saying anyone's better or worse, but typically the ways that you can innovate the most and you continue to just innovate are the ones that survive long term. And like right now, we're going on 25 years. So I'd say we're definitely meeting that mark.
And that's one of the things I really liked about your organization when I was doing all this research. 25 years is a long time for any organization, but especially for a group that is, an amalgamation of people from all different walks of life, because not everyone is a veteran, are they? Or is it partially, or how does that work?
For our Second Brigade Motorcycle Club, not every single one of us is a veteran. Not every single one of us is a DD Form 214 holder. And here's why. I actually, during my Army career, I actually spent time as an Army recruiter. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, there are a multitude of great Americans that want to serve their country, but for one reason or another can't. I mean, when you go through the recruitment aspects, you qualify in medical, education, and legal. And sometimes life just happens. Sometimes, you have something medical that doesn't meet, the cut when it comes to government service. But that doesn't mean you can't help out veterans, you can't support troops, you can't support our military. And we recognize that fact. And I actually have a very many prominent members in my club that haven't served a day in their life, but the amount of assistance, the amount of support, and the things that they do to help out veterans is extraordinary.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that. Some of the most patriotic, veteran-focused people that I know have never served a day in their life, but you wouldn't know it because of the level of intention towards helping veterans is absolutely amazing. So you guys have been around for 25 years. You're all throughout the country. You guys even have international branches or chapters. I'm not sure the right terminology.
We do. I actually know that one all too well. I actually helped start our first international chapter in Germany in 2014. I was stationed over there while I was assigned an Army assignment and had to go through what we call protocol. That's where you talk with a lot of the other major motorcycle clubs that are over there. You let them know your intentions, and you go through and basically find a way to, have their blessing to operate. Now, the biggest thing is you're mainly talking with clubs that are very prominent clubs that are out there, and I won't get into their names, but I'm sure we all know what some of those names are. But they want to know a few different things from you. They want to know right off the bat are what you call a diamond club. Now, diamond clubs are considered one percenters. They have that own distinction by saying, 99% of motorcyclists are law-abiding citizens, and this came from the Hollister riots in 1939. And then the 1%, are outlaw-style clubs that just don't follow the rules. Well, that's a bit of an overemphasis, but because of that term back then, a lot of these clubs have embraced that title. So that's a badge of honor to them to be a one percenter. So you're talking to a lot of these clubs, and they want to know, one, are you a diamond club? Are you a one percenter? And we are not. We've never been. We never will be. We're not like that. They want to know your affiliation. So we let them know, we originally were affiliated to the Vietnam Veterans, the original Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Club, but we're now segregated. Been so since 2004. They want to know whether or not you recruit, because again, that's a diamond club aspect. They want to know if you claim territory. It's something that's very big in motorcycle clubs. It's not something we do either. We have only two bottom rockers. We have U.S. and Europe. We're a national club. We don't claim any territory. Europe, we're just national on that continent, and that's it. And then the last thing you want to know is what your requirements are to come in. And it's very, very simple. That's because what it does, it gives them an understanding of who you are, how you operate, and whether or not, for lack of better terms, you're going to need to be babysit. Because unfortunately, the MC culture has dealt with shows like Sons of Anarchy that have given people the wrong idea, the wrong impression on how to go about working in this culture. And they tend to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, go the wrong place, or operate in a manner which is considered disrespectful.
So this Sons of Anarchy and all these motorcycle shows, popular media, that isn't quite the way things are, is it?
It's not. Most people got to realize the Sons of Anarchy was originally built on basically the diaries and a lot of the stories that were written down of another particular diamond club over about a 40-year span. So it was condensed for TV to really kind of add some drama and sell and, continue viewership. So that is not the way the MC culture works at all. The MC culture, believe it or not, has actually got a lot of roots in the veterans. And it's something that, again, is built on respect, and it has a lot of structure base that's very close to government and even a military self.
So when you go to join or get recruited, I don't even know the right terms. How would somebody that's rides motorcycles and wants to become a member of Second Brigade Motorcycle Club or some other club, would they just reach out to someone? Would they try to find a local chapter? Go to the website, which is SBMC21.com. So just so everybody knows, Second Brigade Motorcycle Club 21.com. Super easy to find. Pretty cool website. Mm-hmm. And it's very focused on POWMIA. That's the first thing you see. But how do they go about? Obviously, we're not trying to recruit here, but just find out more information.
Well, obviously, we're in the internet age today. So you want to be able to research just like you did. You can find out what we have out there. We have our own website, like you heard. We have social media. It's something I cover as well. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. And the whole idea behind that is the veteran community, for as large as it seems, we're actually pretty connected. We're pretty tight. So one of the biggest things that we have really found a lot of help in is if we actually link and start to work in conjunction with a lot of other organizations. So if you're actually interested, the easiest way, and it's on our website because we have a worldwide tab, which has a map that's interactive and you can find your local chapter. You can contact that chapter and find out what any activities they have, if they're in the area. And I'll be honest, we're not in absolutely every area. It's not that easy. The main thing is you want to grow with quality. You just don't want to put patches on people and expect them to know how to act correctly. Because the main thing is like you're part of something more. You're part of something greater. And we want you to represent us and yourself adequately. So and that takes education and time and some experience for you to get through. But so if you're interested, you contact your local chapter. Typically, they're going to have you show up to an event that they have, whether they have a meeting or if they have some kind of a motorcycle run or if they have some kind of benefit. And you get to know who those members are. And at a point, if you actually are still interested in joining, you can ask to become what we call a hang-around status. Now, a hang-around is considered like you're kind of feeling out a club, you're understanding what they're about, you're understanding the personalities of the members, understanding what their mission is, how often they're out and about, whether or not they ride, constantly hundreds of miles on a regular basis, or if they're just kind of low line. You got to understand motorcycle clubs are comprised of all different types of individuals. So it's one of those things to where you need all those different types of individuals because you need people from all different walks of life. So you're going to have some members that are going to burn the candle at both ends and really go after the mission. You're going to have ones that just like to hold the bar stool down and drink beer with their buddies. It happens. There's nothing wrong with that. But then also you're going to need everyone in between. People are going to be connected. People are going to be blue collar. Some people are going to have higher level jobs. Some people can even work within veteran organizations. We even have ones that are active duty military. So you need all different types to really add value to your organization. But if you keep going with a hang around, you can also achieve what we call a prospect status. And again, it's something that you go before all the members of that particular chapter, that state, whatever, and you ask to become a prospect. At this point, you are a prospective member. You are now going to be fully evaluated by those members as to whether or not you meet their criteria. And we have certain elements, we want to have a certain amount of time. We want you to go to a regional and national meeting because we believe that you can be educated and you can be helped and assisted by our members, our brothers from all across the country, all across the world. And that's the main thing is you want to get that full education. You want to get fulfillment. You have to understand that you have pockets of excellence everywhere. Not everyone gets the same experience. Not everyone knows the same club or knows how to deal with every situation. But if you take the time to get yourself out there and really understand how everyone helps and everyone knows this or that, you really start to understand what the club looks like as a whole. And it's usually those members that put that much emphasis into it, put that much effort and really go after the mission are the ones that get the most out of it, because really it's a matter of what you put in is what you get back.
You bring up a really great point. We talk about it on the show. We have a number of different people that come on the show, and finding your purpose is one of the biggest challenges that veterans have after they hang up the uniform, whether it was whatever service they were in. That camaraderie, that purpose in life is often missing. It sounds like the Second Brigade Motorcycle Club helps to fill that void in a lot of folks.
It does. The way actually I found Second Brigade, again, I was on recruiting duty at the time. I had a fellow recruiter that was infantry that had a very difficult time coming away from the line. Being away from the line unit, being away from his friends. His friends were in harm's way over in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he had a lot of just regret and guilt over that. And he unfortunately did lose a couple of his brothers from that. So it took us some time to really understand his situation and help him and get him the help and assistance he needed. Well, one of the things that really made him make a turn was when he found Second Brigade. And that interested me. It really made me kind of sit back and wonder. I go, wow. I saw you go and do a 180 in a matter of not even half a year because you found this group and it really offered you something more. So I got interested. I started showing up and I started seeing what it was about and adding value. And I found my place too. But again, it's something for everybody. And don't get me wrong. Second Brigade Motorcycle Club is like any organization out there. You're comprised of individuals. You're going to have potential conflict. You may or may not get along with every single person there. But again, it's about your resolve. It's about what's in your heart, whether or not you believe. in what's going on. So with Second Brigade, yeah, it does add a lot of value. And there's a couple different ways with the veterans and motorcycle world, the clubs, if you want to, and the culture really kind of jive. So believe it or not, actually, a lot of the most prominent motorcycle clubs that are out there first started from veterans. There's a very prominent one. I won't name names, but a lot of them flew P-51 Flying Tigers during World War II in the Pacific Theater. And those that survived, they came back, and motorcycles were getting big at the time. So we're talking, just after World War II, and they still wanted that adrenaline rush. They still wanted to be with their brothers because that's all they trusted. And they ended up forming a motorcycle club over that. So that's how that started, and it's got that start in a lot of other clubs. So you get, like you said, you had that camaraderie, and having that ability also lets you understand a lot of motorcycle clubs have a lot of structure that is very similar to how the government and how military work. So like the mindset is very on point. We have goals in mind, and we have a mission in mind, and we want to go places and do things, and we want to be respected and be allowed to do what we want to do. So then you have that teamwork aspect to it, because I'm sorry, not one member ever makes a motorcycle club. It's a matter of the brotherhood. It's a matter of the group as a whole. And then again, everything is built on respect. So it's a matter of, you got to be direct, you've got to be blunt. A lot of the military treats us and teaches us that. So it translates very well to the motorcycle club world, because you take that military aspect and you can kind of apply it to the MC world.
That is fascinating. I never really thought of the parallels between the two, but yeah, it sounds like there's a whole lot that are similar in nature, especially that camaraderie, that sense of belonging, which is often a challenge when you hang up the uniform, and a lot totally makes sense. So what are some of the things that you guys do for veterans? I know you guys have a laundry list of things that are aimed at helping veterans.
We've gotten ourselves into a few different things over the years. We have a few things that we really plant a flag in. One of my most prominent ones that I could not be any prouder of. We have an organization that's based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's called SBMC Welcome Home. Now, this was started in 2013. The mayor of Philadelphia actually declared a homeless emergency because he said he had as many as 50,000 homeless people on the streets of Philadelphia, and they didn't know what to do about it. But the problem was, when they started really applying it and figuring out who these people were, as many as a third of them were veterans. So we have a couple chapters in that area, and they took that to heart. So what they did over the course of about 3 years, they started setting up clothing drives, food drives. They started connecting them into services with the VA, started getting them medical checks and free dental exams, making sure they had a warm bed to sleep in, and they started getting them training and being able to put them back to work to where they had purpose. So again, 3 years later, so we're talking 2015, 2016, the mayor did another, I guess you say, census of what was going on. And they said that now that they were underneath 20,000 homeless in the city of Philadelphia, and that they had less than single digits that were veterans. So today, that's been going on for just shy of a decade. We've helped over 30,000 veterans.
That's amazing. I mean, it should be never a case where a veteran is homeless, but it happens. I know it happens. We've talked to the VA. We've had the folks that do a lot of these efforts with the Veterans Affairs, but it's always the extra organizations out there that really make things happen. The VA does some wonderful things, but they can't do it alone, no matter how much time and resources they get, because they just don't resonate. And a lot of people are, afraid or really cautious of dealing with the Veterans Affairs for a lot of reasons. Nothing to do with the government or whatever is the case. I'm sure a motorcycle club has a whole different approach than the Veterans Affairs guys would, just by the nature of who's part of the organization.
Absolutely.
So
it's something really fun when you can have those conversations with them and have them open up to you. We have a couple different also states that we work with the VA to where we work and find out what veterans are there in that VA that really don't get a lot of visitors or don't have a lot of family or don't really get out too much. And we will hold everything from dinners to social events to try to get them out. And at first it's kind of difficult with the VA, but once they see the added value and they see how some of these veterans really brighten up and they start talking about experiences and sharing, and then they become so enthused about coming back the next time, it just becomes easier and easier. Now, don't get me wrong, COVID's kind of put a pin in that because of, obviously we don't want to infect them. And a lot of veterans that are in VAs are either immune compromised or they're very susceptible to disease. But we still find other ways to do it. Like me, I live in the St. Louis area. So we actually do clothing and food drives, and we drop them off at the VA. And we help them with shoes, with backpacks, with clothes. And this is everything from elderly veterans to ones that are just separating that have nothing. And we do that in St. Louis as well as Kansas City. So there's a multitude of ways to help. And I mean, we've got other examples too. I won't steal that thunder.
Well, let's talk about some of those other examples, about the other things that you guys are doing, because I know that there's a lot of efforts to help veterans. And I was kind of surprised. Like, I don't think of motorcycle clubs, although locally I do see a lot of groups. I don't even know if they're motorcycle clubs by the definition of how motorcycle clubs go. Groups of people that ride together with matching jackets and matching vests. So I don't even know if the terminology, but they do a lot of things like raise funds for various things, either scholarships or veterans. What are some of those things?
Well, the vest that any motorcycle club wears is called a cut. That's what it is. It's usually a leather vest or it's a denim vest. It's usually either black or the blue denim. So like one of the other things that we're doing is actually up in Fargo, North Dakota. There is a national cemetery in Fargo most people don't know about. It's right next to the Air Force Base. And we've been working on this now about 2 years. It's only 75 acres. And apparently by federal mandate, it doesn't meet the criteria of 100 square acres to get federal assistance. So this particular cemetery has a multitude of veterans that are buried. And it's actually got a very large prominent population of Native American veterans that are there. But again, we're talking about Fargo, North Dakota. So, very close to the Canadian border, it gets cold. So one of the things our club has really gone after is we're not only trying to purchase that additional land so it can get the federal assistance, but we're also trying to build a building where families can actually gather, keep warm. Obviously, they have facilities, latrines, bathrooms, whatever you want to call it, and they can wait there while their loved one is either being buried or they're waiting for the funeral. That is something that it's unique. It's something that's kind of really out in left field, but it has a great impact. And it's something that people really don't think about. And to be fair, I didn't even know that cemetery was there until our brothers got involved in it. And again, it's something that I have quite a bit of pride about.
That is such a unique and special way to go after helping veterans. You wouldn't think about it. Little 75-acre cemetery in North Dakota. So that is a really unique approach. I don't think I've heard, and I've talked to a lot of different organizations about something like that. Going and helping and set up. Now, I'm here in Virginia in the Commonwealth. We have Arlington, so there's always things there and wreath laying and the flags, and everybody knows Arlington. But there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other cemeteries that get neglected throughout the country. So that's pretty cool.
There's actually about a little bit over 2,500 national cemeteries, veteran cemeteries, military cemeteries across the country. And you will find a lot of our members at a lot of these events laying wreaths during Christmas time. I know we posted on social media. I think I did 10 different posts of it last year. And I mean, it's something that we take a lot of pride in. And don't get me wrong, some places get a little hairy with their situation. I know Arlington, we've had civilians have issues just like jumping on the truck and trying to get as many as possible. And then they're trying to, live stream it or get a photo for their social media, which is great. I mean, there's no problem with that. But typically they're there not for the purpose. They're just there to, get a photo. But yeah, I mean, it's something also we're involved in Wreaths Across America. Another thing that we're also involved in is what we call a BASS run. So BASS stands for Bikers Against Soldier Suicide. It's something that's a major affliction to veterans today. I think I was actually reading some latest polls, and we were not only going from 22 a day, but they think it might be pushing closer to 30. So that's something that's highly, highly sensitive for a lot of us that are in the veteran community. So one of the things that they found with the BASS run, they've been doing this now for 8 years, and it's mainly out of Minneapolis, is they actually raise funds through these runs And they try to find a different foundation every year to support that gets veterans engaged outdoors. So like this year was a matter of the Freedom Fishing Foundation to try to really help veterans that don't have the ability to go out on any kind of fishing trips. But we also have another element that's called the Hero Lodge in conjunction with English River Outfitters. It's in Iowa, that they actually created a lodge style, I guess you could say hotel, but it's a fully functional and it's fully engineered to deal with disabled veterans that used to have a lot of hobbies, to be outdoors, to be hunters, fishers, trappers. And it's exclusively designed to get them back outdoors to get back to that hobby. So, I mean, some of the things that they actually have wheelchairs that have tracks on them. That way they can go anywhere. They actually are linked in with a lot of the wildlife services within the state. That way they have rangers that not only look out for them, but know exactly where to go for certain wildlife. And then the other aspect to that bass run is it supports what we call our Operation Blitzen. So this came about now about 10 years ago, and it happens in a couple different states. We have found that typically veterans have families. And like we said, some fall on hard times. They have issues with family, issues with jobs. Some might be PTSD involved, but life happens. So we've been trying to find, and again, it's been going on for 10 years, we find a veteran to support that Christmas, to make sure them and their family have a Christmas, have presents under the tree, have a good dinner, have something to feel good about, to know that someone else cares. And it's a little nuance that most people don't really think about, but it has a profound impact, and it's something that we've really found a lot of joy from in a lot of different states.
So many veterans just need that touch, that connection, that hey, somebody cares about me. How do you find those veterans that need that touch?
Well, sometimes they find us. We do have some that reach out to us via social media and our website that ask for help. And understand that if that's the case, we do have our own groups, our own committees that will approve or disapprove things. Understand, again, most of us are blue collar. We don't have an ungodly amount of money. We don't have some of the 501c3 elements and support some of these foundations do. But we do what we absolutely can. We try to help out as best we can. So, I mean, there's been times where we end up paying for hotel rooms, and we've had families that house burned down. They didn't have insurance. We find a way. And I've been in a couple different places where one of my brothers will show up with a truck and a trailer, and they just start going to different brothers' houses and go, what furniture do you have that you can donate? What kind of clothing do you have that you can donate? Like me, I have 3 kids. They're all under the age of 10. And I have spare clothes.
I feel you, brother. I feel you with this.
I've donated cribs. I've donated high chairs. I've donated clothes. And they just look at me. They're like, do you have any idea how much this is worth? I go, yeah, so. Like, you don't want anything for it? I'm like, no, I have it. I'm not using it. You need it. And that's what this is about. They said the veteran community is all about helping each other out. And one of the big things that really connects us, we all have our own experiences. We all have our own little times in life where things get thick. And it's rare that you have someone that you can share those experiences with, you can trust with whatever happens, and they have your back. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of ways that can work out. But that's one of the things most people don't realize about the camaraderie around veterans. I mean, there's a multitude of ones I've served with in wartime that I can't talk about subjects with a counselor. I can't talk with my wife or even some of my brothers because they just weren't there. They don't know. But if I call up or I message one of them, they know exactly what's going on, and we can sit there and shoot back and forth about it and just get it out of your system. That's one of the biggest things. Like I said, you get that support amongst your comrades, but then also you get that community support. That adds, like what you're saying, that purpose, that value. And veterans today are not like the veterans that we grew up with. Most of the ones we grew up with, we just imagine they're in the bar, they're telling war stories, they just like to drink endlessly, and that's kind of what it is. And don't get me wrong, there's still some out there, and some of the veterans today are like that too. But it's been my experience, and this is my opinion here, we have a multitude of veterans now that are getting involved and they're getting outside. And they want to see impact. They want to see that their money and their time and their effort are going towards whatever your mission is. And that's why you see ones doing things like warrior dashes and ruck marches. And Like I said, the Operation Outdoor Freedom is another one that we have in Florida. It's all linked in to help veterans get back into some of their hobbies and get some of that semblance of life back that they lost from their service.
If I was to ask you, what is the most important or the most significant or the most telling thing about Second Brigade Motorcycle Club, what would you tell me?
The biggest thing I tell them, just because a lot of clubs today that have the military standpoint, a lot of them are very focused on only having veterans. And that's one of the big things that really attracted me, is because I had that recruiting experience and I really understood that there were plenty of young men and women that wanted to serve but couldn't. And I really took a lot of purpose and I took a lot of value from that when I found out that we allowed members in who hadn't served. And it's astounded me the difference that it makes. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying any club that's out there that's only veterans is bad. It's not like that. But it adds a different flavor and value to your club by being able to share those experiences and add in a different element, a different angle from those that have no idea of what it's about, have never been there, have no real true understanding of it, but are there to support you regardless.
You know, I go hiking a bunch, and it's always amazing. All my veteran friends are like, oh, that sucks. And like going on hikes and you know, camping, and I tolerate it because the sights are so beautiful and the accomplishment afterwards. But all the friends that really like hiking were either like in the Air Force or Navy or never served. Because the folks who had to do it were like, oh my God, no, this sucks. No way, I'll never do it again. But then you have all these other, you know, the Air Force and the Navy guys. One of them's a fighter pilot. He never hiked, I'm sure, maybe just during a certain training, but in general, never was a big hiker, loves hiking. He's almost in his 80s now. So it's still out there, still doing stuff. But that camaraderie that you have of people that are just doing stuff together, even though it's not necessarily, oh, you have to be a member of combat, kind of like the VFW, or it's the American Legion or the American Legion Auxiliary, all these different groups that cater to the different parts. And so I think that's a definite selling point to having that broader perspective, because there's a lot of great Americans who just want to help our veterans and want to belong to that group of helping people, helping veterans. So yeah, I could definitely see it in multitude of ways, like pure, just veterans, just combat veterans, though we've been at war for 20 years and there are still people that are slick sleeves that have never deployed even after 20 years. We won't talk about that, and that's okay. But yeah, definitely there's a different mission.
Yeah, well, that hits a sour note with me. I actually did quite a few deployments. I think I was on my 4th deployment when the Army Times article came out. I want to say 08 or 09, that only 40% of the Army had ever deployed once. I'm like, well, I've got 4.
Yeah, because you were in that group that kept going. Yeah.
Well, I did the stupid thing and went airborne. So, you know, I was kind of back and forth.
That is sort of the crux of it, though, isn't it? Where people that volunteer get volunteered. And if you're in those mission areas, you're going to keep going. And the vast majority of the Army doesn't need to deploy to do their jobs and to support the forward force. I literally know a doctor, a neurosurgeon, who had been assigned at Fort Lewis at Madigan Army Medical Center. 18 of her 20 years was a full bird colonel. And the only 2 years that she wasn't there is she was at Harvard doing a rotation to learn some new techniques. But if I had something wrong with me and I needed neurosurgery, I don't care that they're ever been to Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria or Djibouti or pick a place. In fact, I'd rather them not. So I kind of keep that, in balance. Now, if you're infantry or artillery or something and you've never deployed, that's another whole issue. Sometimes I know a lot of folks that have wanted to deploy, have begged to deploy, and they get sent on recruiting duty. Then they get sent as a drill sergeant and then some other assignment. and they've always wanted to go, literally begging to go, but we always do it to our best and brightest, give them the assignments that are the worst as far as that's concerned. Always avoided all those, so I really appreciate that. So before I let you go, I do want to ask, what should I have asked you about but didn't?
Well, I've got a really good one for this one. So we have a brother in our club by the name of Ray Simon. Ray Simon is a nationally renowned painter that I'd be willing to bet each and every one of you that's listening has seen one of his works, you just didn't realize it. So this man paints pictures of history, American history, patriotism. He's a sports stars. He's got paintings right now on display that are in the White House, that are in Trump's estate, Mar-a-Lago, Pentagon, the Ohio Senate, Fort Knox, Fort Hood, Fort Bragg, Fort Benning, Pro Football Hall of Fame. List goes on, Veteran Affairs. So he's been commissioned by Department of Defense, World War II Battlefield Commission, 50th anniversary for Korea War. He does paintings that really tell a major history, and he's got a few of them out there. But again, he's a brother of Second Brigade. I actually, on our social media recently, in the last couple of weeks, I published a video of him with a couple of his major paintings. So he is a patriot through and through. He has donated major pieces of art. He has put them up in some massive places. He has all kinds of different, you'd say, places that are populated and all kinds of different people that tell him how great he is. But you guys don't realize what this man does too. That man, for every single war veteran that he finds out about that dies, every POW/MIA remains that comes back, every single soldier that died in Iraq and Afghanistan, he donates a painting to that family. He not only has one of his commemorative paintings for whatever conflict, whether it be Iraq, Afghanistan, Korea, World War II, what have you, but then he also paints their portrait too, and he gives that to his family. And that even includes, like he did last year when everything closed in Kabul. He donated to every single one of those families a portrait of their soldier, their sailor, their airman Marine that was lost. That way they had something to remember him by. So this man, and here's the fun part, he hasn't served a day in his life. He just has a God-given gift and talent and patriotism to the heart that he is all about the mission. And he's been with us for many years, and the amount of work that he does to raise awareness and the amount of things he donates and everything he helps with, even for the families to remember and to have that small piece of their loved one back, it's truly something that it makes me so joyful that he's there with us.
I would not picture a world-class artist as a member of a motorcycle club, but I guess that's the dichotomy of the people that are members of the Second Brigade Motorcycle Club. So I do have a question, and it's been bugging me. How come it's not the First Brigade? Where did the Second Brigade come from?
So this name actually came from who we came from, the Vietnam veterans. When they named us, when they brought the affiliate club forward, that the first members, the first soldiers that went to Vietnam were the First Brigade. And since we were going to carry on their mission, we would be the Second Brigade. So that's where that name came from.
That makes perfect sense. I was sort of wondering, I was like, there must be some reason for this. You know, it's not like anybody says, we're the second, unless there's some lineage there. I got to have a first, and that makes a lot of sense. We've been talking with Joshua Robb. He goes by Jericho. He's a national officer with the Second Brigade Motorcycle Club. You can go check him out, SBMC21.com. Super nice website. Joshua, before I let you go, anything else you'd like to add?
You can find us on all the major social media sites. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're also on LinkedIn. Like I said, you don't have to necessarily want to become a member. If you just want to be part of that solution, it's one of our famous acronyms, BPOTS, be part of the solution. Come out and support. I mean, again, it's not about money raised. It's about helping that cause and that mission, because that's what we are all about.
Joshua, I've learned a lot about motorcycle clubs, but especially the Second Brigade Motorcycle Club. I've been super impressed with everything you guys are doing. Thank you for everything you do for our veterans, and thank you for coming on Coming Home Well.
I appreciate the time and opportunity, and hopefully this is just one of many, because I believe in who we are. I believe in what we do. I'm proud to be a member of Second Brigade Motorcycle Club, and I'm just trying to get the word out of what we're about, what our mission is.
Thanks again for coming on Coming Home Well.
Thanks for joining us this week on Coming Home Well with Dr. Tyler Piron. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and a review. Follow us on Instagram at ComingHomeWell_BTS or on Twitter at ComingHomeWell. Thanks again. And until all are home and all are well, this is Coming Home Well.